Hey folks, throughout the month of March, we're going to talk about the importance of steady plodding in the homeschooling journey. Now that phrase, steady plodding, will be a phrase that you will hear a lot this month. It comes from the book of Proverbs and the Living Bible paraphrase. It says, steady plodding brings great wealth. And the context there is financial, but it's also true in educational as well. Now, I want to impress upon you just a few words here to be thinking about during this month, and that is trust the process. Trust the process that God has ordained. And that process includes parents teaching their children over a course of time, thus the words steady plodding. My friends, it's so easy to get off of that process and to look for shortcuts or a bypass somewhere. And that usually happens when we as parents fall into the trap of comparing our child or our child being compared to another homeschooling child, perhaps a public school relative, or maybe even our own experiences. I mean, I've been guilty of telling my kids, especially when it came to our nemesis, math, guys, I learned the multiplication tables when I was in third grade. And so if they were in the latter part of third grade or the fourth grade and they were still struggling, that made them feel really bad. And what I inadvertently did there is I short-circuited the process to make my kids grow on my time schedule when I was a child. Now, we understand there are times when parents must push our kids. We need to maybe motivate them more. But that really is the exception and not the norm. When we short-circuit the process is usually when we get freaked out as parents or we get anxious as parents. And rather than dealing with that within ourselves, we transfer that or project that onto our kids by saying, well, you're behind. And of course, behind who or what? Who's to say that our kids have to learn the multiplication tables by the time they're third grade? This thing of process is so very, very important. And God has been dealing with me personally on this issue, so it's pretty close. Although 5 of my kids are now out of high school and most of the 6, I still see I pushed my kids too hard at times. And when I did that, they kind of froze up educationally and somewhat emotionally. I've shared many times that homeschooling success is not based by days, weeks, months, or even a single year. It just seems like as we remain faithful to the process of steady plodding, we watch, and all of a sudden, our kids just seem to take a big step, be it educational, be it spiritual, be it emotional. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So throughout this month, I want you to think about the words steady plodding. Be committed to the process that God has ordained. And that process, again, is parents teaching their kids over the span of time. And when we do that, it's not making these big giant steps. It's little faithful steps here and here and here. I've heard many times in my life that if you practice a piano 15 to 20 minutes every day for 15 years, you'll master the piano. And the point is not that we spend 3 or 4 hours one day and then none the next, just a little bit over time. Steady plodding brings great wealth. So I encourage you with this today, especially when you're just starting out and you feel like you've got to do all these things. Enjoy your children, commit to a long-term process, and I think you'll like the results. This is Kirk Smith with ICHE's Take 5.